You're listening to Pole Parlour, a fun, inspiring podcast for all those bewitched by pole dance. Each week, your Madam Crimson Minxxx has candid conversation with unique, engaging individuals from within and around the pole dance community. Pole Parlour is passionate about preaching creativity, soulful sensuality, and empowerment through pole dance.
You know how we do.
Welcome everyone to Pole Parlour. This is episode 37, Veronica Nichols. I'm your host, Crimson Minxxx. This week on the podcast, we have pole coach extraordinaire, Veronica Nichols. On this episode, we talk about Veronica's passion for teaming with dancers to help develop highly creative, unforgettable performances, how her career as a producer and director has contributed to her success as a pole coach, and how we have the potential to become more strong, open-minded, loving individuals and ultimately better citizens of the world from our experiences as pole dancers. And don't forget to check out Veronica's post-podcast interview on the blog at poleparlour.com, where she shares her favorite photos, music, video, and more. And while you're there, check out the Pole Parlour shop, where you can pick up some fun pole dance gear for yourself and maybe even some holiday gifts for your pole-loving homies. And now, let's bring on Veronica. Welcome, Veronica Nichols, to the Pole Parlour podcast. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, thank you for joining us today. Let's jump on in. For how long have you been poling, and how did you first discover pole dance?
I have been poling for about 9 years, and it's actually an interesting story because I always have kind of I'm a film producer. I'm an independent film producer, so I always have to have a side gig, right? Anybody in the entertainment industry knows you gotta have a side gig.
So
right?
LA.
So LA. So I always have a friend side gig. So it's always kind of a little different. So my old side gig was I worked at an adult novelty store, and my friend worked there with me too. And I was in character, I had wigs. I was it was so fun, and and met some of the most interesting people. But so we went to this convention, and they were giving away free pole dancing classes, one class, a free introductory class. So she's like, come on, let's do it. I signed us up, please. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. Here I am. Right? So I was like, I don't want to. I was a really, really actually pretty shy person, naturally, and especially before pole. But so she basically forced me, twisted my arm into it. And I think it's pretty ironic that the free introductory class was on my birthday. And so we went to the free introductory class, and she loved it. She's like, let's do it. Let's do this class. And at the time you had to buy a package. You couldn't just buy one class. So we signed up for the package, and it was a $50 non-refundable fee. This is important because she ended up coming down with cancer and not being able to go. And she had asked me to pay her non-refundable fee. And so now I'm $100 in, right? And she can't go. Obviously, I can't be mad at her. She did make it. Everything's good now.
Good.
Yeah, clear that up. But, and I really attribute her to giving me this gift. But so I'm $100 in. I can't just throw $100 away. So I was I asked the owner of the business, can I just roll her money over and then put it onto my account? She said, yeah. So then I ended up on this journey alone, when it was supposed to be me and my girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. And it ended up me just on this solo journey and connecting with all these amazing people and kind of creating a parallel life almost. And so that was it. First class, I went in and never stopped. Kind of was I don't completely suck. Well, let's do this.
And where was this? Was this in LA?
This was in LA.
Okay.
It was a pole studio called Expositions. It was owned by Leah Daniels Butler, who's now a big time casting agent for top shows on network TV. She was such an amazing woman, and we're still cool to this day. But she made this really great space where that's where I met Nadia.
I was going to say, we had Nadia Sharif on a few weeks ago, and she said that's where she got started too. So
yeah. Well, the sad part is like as the industry expanded, and I feel like this happens in industries, and we'll probably see it again in a different way. But as the industry expanded, kind of the business model had to change for studios. So how it used to be priced before, how they used to take care of their overhead before, all changed. And so she shut the business down. And it was such a great, amazing space. So I was heartbroken. I was the one that came up through. I was a student, and then I became a teacher. I had this amazing teacher who I just flippantly one day said, my teacher was so great. I was like, one day I want to be good enough to teach. Like 2 weeks later, they asked me to train. And no, I wasn't the strongest pole dancer with the most tricks, but I really understand teaching, and I love teaching. Anything I grasp, I can share and I can explain. And I think I have a gift for breaking things down. I've been told that. But this space, luckily enough, was reborn as the new location of Luscious Maven. So I get to still have my womb where I was born, and it's a really great creative space. A lot of people, make magic in that space. So it's a great space for me, and it just feels like home. Pole itself feels like home. No matter where I am. If I'm teaching a class, you're going to get the same experience no matter what the four walls are. But it just like a little extra icing on the cake in that space.
Yeah, I don't think people would disagree with that. Like, I'm currently in that situation trying to find a new home pole studio in my new city, and it's like, oh, does this feel right? What some people appreciate, other people don't like. So it's kind of like you do have to find what feels like home so you can like really grow in that space. So I feel you, girl.
I feel like that's the beautiful part about pole is you can find your niche, and everything has a slightly different personality like we do.
Yeah.
And that's and we're all here to feed that, and you might need something different on a different part of your dance journey too.
Exactly.
So I always encourage people to
try
visit, and especially when you go out of town.
Yeah.
Try it, like that should be a tourist stop.
I know.
Pollers. It's just like, where am I going to pull while I'm on vacay, right?
And so you, this 9 years ago, were you a dancer back then though? Or like, what's your history? No? Oh, wow. Okay.
The funny thing is I, as a kid, I was like a TV kid. I wasn't even an outside kid. I didn't like to do anything except like watch TV, maybe draw. I'm like I'm an introverted person naturally. But so then I did get a little bit into working out, like as I was, becoming an adult, and I took a little salsa here and there and a little belly dancing here and there, but nothing really stuck until pole. And then I just like, you know how it is. Yeah. It's like a drug. Like you're just obsessed with it. You can't stop. Yeah. Even if you need to stop for a reason, you're like, oh, how can I pole still? And it was early on, I sprained my dominant wrist, and we didn't know then. This is how young pole was. We didn't know, just switch to your other side. We didn't even think about that, right? So I just had to stop polling for like 3 months, and I was like rabid for pole after that.
Wow. So you mentioned before you do other things. So you're also like, what was your main focus then?
Before, when I was polling, when I first started polling.
Yeah.
Well, I moved out to LA to work in the entertainment industry, and so I'm a writer, producer, director. Okay. And I primarily produce independent films. Mm-hmm. And but when I moved to LA, one of my main focuses, and I had been doing that elsewhere. I lived in Atlanta briefly, but I had moved to LA because I really wanted to focus. Well, obviously, it's the place to be for entertainment. But I also wanted to focus on my directing. So I was able to actually get into that a little bit more frequently via pole. And I've been doing music videos with the amazing Kelly Maglia.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to put those links in the show notes because Kelly Maglia was a past guest, and I just love her creativity. I love her style, her drive. And when I found out you directed her music videos, I was like, what? Like, this girl, Veronica, does everything. Her music videos are stunning. So I will put that
Yay,
in notes, because you really know how to highlight a dancer too, as a director, as a dancer yourself. And
yeah. And I feel like the behind the scenes link she put out was actually really great too, because it got to kind of see how we came up with some of these wild and crazy ideas. And anytime, but it all stems from pole though, really. I feel like pole has helped me to really hone my voice as a director, because when we're creating competition pieces or pieces for showcase, you're kind of creating like a mini story. I consider it like a little short film. You have all this character, all this costume. You have to tell this story. And sometimes I've had people bring me like really crazy requests. And I don't ever want to squash the creativity. I want to find a way to make it like possible, you know? I remember Bryn and I worked together on her piece for California pole dance competition.
Is this Bryn Root?
Bryn Root.
Okay.
Yeah. And do you remember the one she did as Khaleesi?
Yes.
So we're in session and she's like, okay, I really want like a real dragon. And I'm like, okay, well, those don't actually exist, kinda. But we just were talking and we were like, what if you got a Komodo dragon? Okay, that's crazy. What if it was an iguana, right? They have these big iguanas. They have them, they're on commercials, so they act, right? This is me, right? I'm in it with her, right? So we tried finding some iguanas, and then I was on Instagram, and there was some guy came up in the random section with this amazing, like, metallic dragon necklace thing. And I was like, oh my God, this is it, right? So then it turns out her friend that does her makeup is an actual special effects makeup artist. They're like best friends. Her name's Chloe Sens. She's amazing. And he was one of her fans from being on, what's the show, Face Off. And so we contacted him and got the thing. It was I think the competition was Sunday, and we saw this on Instagram on Saturday and made it all happen and got the prop. And it was just the piece that sewed it all together. And like, it was such a gorgeous, gorgeous piece for Bren. I was really happy to be a part of that.
Yeah. The reason why I wanted to have you on is because I don't think people are really clear. You are a pole dance choreographer, and people like hire you to help them bring pieces to life for performances and competitions. And so I don't know if people are really aware that what that role entails, and that it's maybe even available. So I really want to hear from you. Like, how does that happen? How does someone bring someone like you on? And what is your title even? Is it choreographer or?
Actually, I don't consider myself a choreographer. Okay. I consider myself a coach. And I do think that there is a difference, and they both exist.
Okay.
I think in order to be a choreographer, you have to have a really thorough dance background and a knowledge in, I feel like, the history of dance. I'm approaching it from a slightly different. I have a really thorough knowledge and history of pole.
Yeah.
And then I source what I need to source based upon whatever the piece is, and who the dancer is. I came about it in an interesting way. It kind of just was really organic. It wasn't anything I decided, I'm going to do this thing, but it actually happened through Nadia. So Nadia and I were instructors at Expositions, and we basically did like a takeover on Sunday. So it was only me and her on Sunday. We taught all the classes, and then we would just have extra time and we would just play around. And so I was in there with her when she created a lot of things, and would just kind of be there walking beside her on that creative journey and say maybe, hey, what if you try this? Or she'd be doing something and be like, oh, that's cool. What if you put your leg there? And just giving suggestions and kind of, I really like the analogy of like walking along the path with the person and kind of maybe a little bit of shaping and guiding. As I've gotten more experience as a coach, there are times where I want something really specific. Even if it's a move, it's usually floor work. But I find pole work to be very personal. I feel that, you can come up with a really cool, dope pass of all these different crazy pole tricks and transitions. But if it doesn't feel good to the person that has to do it on stage, they're not really going to live. They're not going to, rise above the choreography or the execution of moves to that place where it makes the audience feel. Mm-hmm. And that's always what my goal is. So I remember when Nadia and I were training for like her first competitions, like she's so dope. Like who can take credit really for somebody? I will say my biggest thing I feel like is I know them when I see them though. I'm like, you're special. Let's do this, right? Like you got to know how to pick them too. And when you're trying to have like kind of an elite team. So Nadia and I were working together, and I was like, I'm not a choreographer. I kind of imagined myself being like, if you ever see boxing, the boxers, they're in the ring. They've been training. They're in the ring, pop, 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 whatever. And they go back to the corner, and there's the person there in the corner that sprays the water in their mouth, wipes them down with the cloth, and they're like, you're doing great. Get in there, get that jab going, the uppercut. It's like an encouraging thing. So I'm working their mind. Like I'm supportive like the whole time, because competition is a mind twist. It'll get in there and it'll make you doubt yourself. It'll make you feel upset, sad, angry. Like you go through like a gamut of emotions, and I just try to keep them level and walk them through that part too. And it really is being a true shoulder to lean on as they walk down this really challenging path and push their bodies to limits that you just don't even think are possible.
Yeah. And it sounds like beyond that, would you also say you have like a visionary role in it as well? Do you help with the visual part?
Definitely. Yeah. I think that I have choreographed. There's been 2 pieces that I've choreographed top to bottom, and it was actually because the dancers were strong but had a limited pole vocabulary. Mm-hmm. So I came up with the passes, and we just spent a lot of time working on the passes, putting them to music. I did the floor work, everything, based around what their abilities were. So it's still tailored to what their abilities are. But yeah, even when it's somebody who could technically probably do it on their own, that's like a star in their own right. I still try to get involved in the creative, whether it's from the props, what kind of props do we use, how do we use them, makeup, character, costume. We always have costume consultations. And a lot of us work with Kelly on that, like a lot of my team.
Kelly Maglia, yeah. Her costumes are incredible.
Exquisite. Just exquisite. And I do have a small team that I continually work with, and I will work with people outside of that team, but I don't know, Brian probably told you our name. He's the best one at pumping our name.
When she's saying Brian, she's talking about Brian Wolf. For those who haven't, Brian Wolf, but that's okay because I don't know why not everyone listens to all of these podcasts, but no, he was a guest like a while ago. So if you haven't listened to that one, check out Brian Wolf's podcast. And he talks about Veronica a lot and like how much he credits her with his success. So
he and I started together, and this is like another topic too, is like co-ed polling. Because when he first started polling, there actually was no co-ed class at that studio besides mine. It was very female only, which has its benefits. But in my class that was co-ed was a strength and conditioning class. So he was just in there doing like the hard stuff right away. Cup grip, deadlift, handspring from the ground. Anybody? Of course, Brian will. But and so we had to end up doing a lot of private lessons in order to get him like the more foundational things and get him really solid on spins on static, which is kind of like his signature now. Yeah. So
what's your guys' name?
We're Team Killem. We be killing them. When we get on stage, we kill it. We kill it. That's always the goal, is to like be willing to bleed on stage if need be. Like you just give it all, you know? So yeah, we have a really, really strong team. I'm really happy to be able to work with the level of talent that is willing to work with me. It's just an honor.
Who else do you work with, just out of curiosity? You said Brian Wolf, Bryn Root.
Sasha Fierce, Sasha Lee, Nadia, Anakia Jackson. She's kind of new on the scene. She's been doing a lot of competitions lately, and she's kind of got the new exotic style. She's really into that right now. But her thing is very power sexy. And she was somebody where she was coming to my regular classes. And I was like, actually, it's a funny story. So Brian was auditioning for the scholarship at the choreography house. And so we were working on a piece for that. And he was like, don't work with anybody else. He gets really possessive. And I was like, all right, cool, no problem. I don't have no plans on it, right? So then here she comes, and somebody actually at the studio that she was coming to my class, somebody forgot they had a private with her for it. And it was like a Saturday, which is my day, and I was there. So they were like, well, will you just do the private? And I was like, Brian's going to kill me. And so I did. And I was like, well, it's already really done, right? She's like, yeah. I was like, all right, fine, I'll do it. And then she was super dope. And I was like, okay, do this, and this. She made all the adjustments, and it was like, I was like, oh, I have to work with you. So I called Brian. I was like, you have a baby sister. And he was like, no. Okay, I love her. She's dope.
Yeah, and then you probably met her, and she's like the sweetest, most amazing woman ever. Oh. So who wouldn't want her as a sister?
It's amazing. She is. She's so sweet, and we have a really great time all together. And I'm hoping that soon, next year, 2017, we're going to have a Team Killem show. Just a one-time thing, not something we do all the time, but a special show. Because I just want to like really showcase them and have them all interact, kind of do their own specialties, and do interact together and do their own specialties in the solo. And I just want to give them a venue to really, truly weird out and be them, because we're like kind of like the little weirdo misfit team of dope dancers. So
yeah, I love what you come up with. And actually, if people are interested, join the Pole Parlour Facebook group, because I'm going to post some of your videos in there so people can see like what some of the finished pieces of what you work on with people so they can kind of like see what your thumbprint is on things like.
And then I'll just give you a list, because that's just like the core group. But I've worked with Josiah Grant, badass. He and I did a piece that we're going to work together again. I've worked with Nicole DePole. She was really sweet to work with for the Bruno Mars Europe MTV Europe thing, the Gorillas piece we worked on. So it's just been a lot of really awesome opportunities, and each one informs me not only as a coach, but also as a director. And I feel like it's a real give and take with the artists. And so I just feel I would love if anybody takes a look at those videos. The artists, the dancers work really, really hard. And then they really give it to you on stage, and it's worth it. They're worth a look.
Yeah. What's the process like if someone's maybe interested in working with you? Are you like open to clients? Is it something where people reach out and it's like, say, because I saw an interesting conversation come up on Facebook a few weeks ago, and so it was like so perfect because we were already talking of you being on the podcast, so I'm excited to share this. But because the conversation was coming up, like, if you're doing a competition piece, what do you think do you think it's okay for someone else to choreograph it, or do you think it's okay for someone else to be involved? And my initial reaction was like, yeah, duh, it's dance, no one exists in a bubble. But I think because our industry is so young, and because we're so like bootstrapping sometimes, that I don't even think a lot of people are aware that like in most dance, competitions, performances, or even like say gymnastics, no one is just, they have coaches. No one is doing everything by themselves. So
on their own.
Yeah, I don't know if people are even aware that like coaching is something that's available to them. Is it something that you're seeing a lot of, or do you?
I feel like there's a small group of us.
Okay.
And I think that, you know, even if it's your friend, even if it's a, like a training buddy or something, pole, this part of pole, this aspect of pole, just like anything else, can be whatever you want it. That's what I love about our industry and it being young, is that it can really literally, you can do it however you like, because there are literally no rules. So I have people that I reach out to. So like, I remember when I first started working with Sasha, we were at the same studio a lot, and she was doing these competitions and not winning. And I was like, you should be winning. Like, we got to work together. Please work with me. We did. She went on a run. We run like 4 or 5 titles in a row together. And then I've had people come to me, like Joey was like, hey, Josiah was like, I really want to work with you. And then we did, and we won a title together. And so sometimes I don't know who wants to work with me, and I'm open, but you know, if somebody wants to work with me, ask me. Like, let's see what happens, you know? And Laura Martin, she came to me and said, let's work together, Flying Laura. And she was amazing.
Yeah.
What an icon to be able to work with. And we had a really great experience. And I think she liked my manner, my methods. And we had, she and I tried to do some Skype.
I was wondering, like, is this something you could do on Skype, or do you have to travel to LA or something?
She came up here because she was in San Diego at the time. So she came up here. But because we tried to do Skype and neither one of us could figure it out. We were like, what's going on? So I feel really proud that I'm on the Skype right now.
You figured it out for Pole Parlour now.
But and then sometimes I'll do a workshop series. So I have a workshop series coming up for like California in early February. And that's kind of more of a group thing. And I kind of break down the method I use in my one-on-ones. When I do a one-on-one coaching training, kind of similar thing. It's a little bit diluted because there's more people there, but it's great if somebody's just getting into competitions, you know, like a level 1, level 2. It's great for like the PSO, how they have like the more amateur divisions. When it's time to get into like, you're pushing to that next level of competition, trying to go pro and go that route. And I think definitely kind of having I like to really train in an isolated manner. And so I don't like to share a studio. I don't like to be working on our thing in the corner and then there's somebody else in the competition over there. And it's not even, it's about creating a vacuum, because I feel like what happens then is you have all this creative energy pent up, and then you just explode on stage, and it blows everybody's mind because nobody knows what's happening.
And
nobody
just less
knows
distractions.
Yeah, totally less distractions. Well, I don't know.
You can distract yourself still.
Oh God, we can just be in there chit-chatting. Facebook, Instagram, people personal lives. There's enough distractions. Pole usually isn't really the main distraction. It's but I like that it's almost like it's the secret that you have, that you get to basically shout it out on stage, and I feel like it makes a difference when in the intensity of the performance.
Yeah, and you're really good at kind of bringing in elements that are unexpected, like you had mentioned with the piece with Bryn, with the dragon element that you brought in. Another piece that you did, again, talking about Brian with Brian Wolf, is he was like a unicorn, and his costume was something like I've never seen. It was like pink vinyl. He had clouds all over the stage, like
that were LED changing lights. Oh, it was amazing. I was like, he really made my vision come to pass. And that story, I know he told the story, but I'll tell the story really briefly too. He so we had just won PPC, and when he did his succubus piece, and he was in heels, everybody loved it. Like, it was great. On the way home, really literally a month later, he has Napa, and he never wants to do the same piece again. I get it. Yeah. I'm cool with that, unless it's a showcase, but not for a competition.
Yes.
And so we're driving in the car. It's like, play the song, because we were kind of debating on a couple different songs, and he was pretty particular about the song that he wanted. He was kind of sure about it, but I wasn't. And so he plays the song. He plays the first song, and I was like, nah, I'm not feeling it. And it was my preference at that time. And then he played the second song, which was his preference, and I was just sitting there, and I had this idea, and I was like afraid to tell him about it. And he was like, I said, okay, I have an idea, but I don't want to tell you. And he was like, what is it? And I said, okay, I want you to be a unicorn. And at first he was like, he had worn a ponytail a couple times. So I wanted him to have like a blonde ponytail with like rainbow highlights in it. Yeah. And I was like, I want you to be a unicorn, did all this. He was like, he looked at me and he was like, he literally said to me, is your tampon giving you toxic shock? I fell out because he feels like I'm more of the conservative one of the two of us, and he would not expect me to suggest something that out there. But I felt like it was just going to be perfect, and it was. And Kelly Maglia with the amazing costume. And my favorite part were the hooves.
Yeah.
And then I had to rhinestone the hooves. I just had to put some rhinestones on. I also really, really love rhinestoning. So I worked with Crystal Gibson for her CPDC piece, and I rhinestoned her little schoolgirl skirt. And I was just like at home in my spare time. She was like, please don't put any more on. It's really heavy. Can you please stop?
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, pole dancers seem to really enjoy rhinestones. So I feel like you weren't offending anyone with that. So
yeah, as long as it doesn't weigh them down or they're trying to do these crazy tricks. So yes, some fun pieces have been done. I've been really lucky.
Yeah, so like for people maybe like that can't make your workshop and that are just in the beginning, just the beginning, do you have any like hints in terms of maybe what they can do to add a little wow factor? Because you so randomly get beginners really having the resources to explore just beyond getting the damn choreo down. So what is there maybe some little elements they can throw in that can kind of separate them?
Well, I would say number one thing is I feel like you've got to love your song. And
a lot of people have been saying that lately. Yeah.
It's going to be with you for a long time. You know, I think it really starts with the music, and the music drives the initial portion of the creative process. And then, so you can't let the music ride you, so to speak. You have to ride the music, but it needs to be the driving force. So if you really love your music and you are able to find all, like basically squeeze, like, you know, when you're making lemonade and you're trying to get all the juice out of the lemons, like you got to squeeze everything that you can out of that song, you know? I find a lot of times people are like just kind of riding the surface of the song. They don't get deep into it. Can you dance to the lyrics? Can you dance to different odd beats? Like what else can you do besides what's obvious, you know?
And I'm not a coach or qualified to really give advice, but I'm going to say as an audience member, please don't pick a song that is like super popular that for those who aren't watching, Veronica just did the strangling handpiece. I can't tell you how many times I've been at like a competition and like the same, 4 people do the same song because it's the most popular song right now. Maybe even look and go, if you're so like need to do that song, maybe go and on SoundCloud and find a remix of it or something at least.
That's a great piece of advice. Find a remix, maybe mix remixes. We've done that a couple times.
Okay.
I went to a competition one time and I was judging, and it wasn't in California. It was out of town in Midwest somewhere. And literally 10 people did the same song.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, deduct for, I didn't really deduct.
No, but that's going to be hard as a judge.
It was like irritating. And then it's like, you just didn't want to hear the song anymore. It's so hard. You got to think too, give them something exciting. Here's another tip, because depending on the competition, judges could have been there all day long, watching pole all day, seeing people do basically a lot of the same moves, over and over, and just evaluating who did it best, how did it, not even comparing people to each other, but did they execute it to its top potential? And it gets boring, after a while. So be that person that jars them, that shakes them out of the daze that they're in from watching this all day long, and make them feel. That's always our goal. Anybody that I'm working with, I'd love for people to get goosebumps at some point. That would be my ideal scenario. Or at least want to yell. If I would listen to the videos later and some people are like, yeah, then we did our job, So I look for that when I'm with a client and they have to do their piece for me. Nobody ever gives me 100% in a studio practice. You just can't, because there's no audience to feed off of. But if they make me get up and or yell, yes, work, live, any of that, then I know that's probably going to be a moment that works on stage too. So I do look for that when training with people. And I mean, if anybody is interested, now that I've figured out the Skype situation, I could probably do some Skype coach sessions if people are,
or consultations or something.
Sure. Yeah, people do it all the time. I know a lot of my clients do, because they're pole stars and they travel, and people want to still work with them, when they're at their home base or when they're on tour. So it is a possibility, and I'm definitely open to that as well. I've seen it work really well for people before.
Yeah, it's kind of like having, even if maybe, ideally you'd be working one-on-one through the entire process in person, but it sounds like maybe if someone's on a limited budget or just starting off, maybe even I'm creating a business for you, by the way. So take some notes, because I think, I'm not a performer or competitor, but I am a big supporter of the community. I want to see it.
Definitely.
I want to see it expand and grow. And I just think one of those things is making our, stage shows better, and really putting full potential out there. Because I know that it's there, but sometimes it's hard. I think people take on everything themselves, and know that you have support systems out there, and know that this is not something that's, wrong. It shouldn't be something that, you're cheating, or there's some perception of that, because this is what dance is. This is what competing is. This is what performing is. This is bringing out your highest potential, bring in the resources of people that can help you, art directors,
It's definitely not any form of cheating, because you still have to get up there and execute. And even if there are some actual choreographers that will come and they'll give you a piece for your competition, and they will train you on how to execute it. And that is valuable too. It depends on what that artist needs and wants. I had two dancers that needed that from me, and I did it. But that doesn't feed me as much. So I look for scenarios where it's more of a collaboration, because they're learning, I'm learning, we're growing together, we're creating together. And that's what that's what fuels my soul. So if somebody is looking for that kind of a relationship, that's where I feel like I come in. I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do all the time. There's going to be some things that I'm going to be specific about. There's this one, Nadia hated doing it, hated in practice. I'd be like, do your arm in her, I think it was California piece, the Dream On, the Aerosmith song. And I made her do this arm movement 1,000 times, and she would never get it right. She'd be like, oh, I feel dumb. I feel dumb. And I made her do it. On stage, it hit. And it hit so hard, the crowd went wild. And it was just a little thing. It wasn't the craziest pole move that she did, it wasn't even a pole move. But sometimes those little things, they give the audience something that they can really digest. Because a lot of times we're dumbfounded by what's going on. Yeah. And those little moments, let them catch up with you and let them connect with you before you move on to the next crazy part. So somebody to help you find those little pieces, like I said, it can be somebody that's already in your life, or, it could be inspiration from other pieces, or it could be me. But, it's important to find little magic moments.
Yeah, and you're a judge, so you know what judges experience that
Yes.
maybe someone who's never judged a competition piece before would be aware of. Like,
And I always talk about that with my clients. And each competition is different too. So judging in different competitions is different. Like, the same piece may or may not be able to win a totally different competition, I feel that some competitions are very, and then especially now, a lot of competitions are getting specialized. Like we have Dance Filthy and, Pole Theater, which has a little bit more freedom. They have different categories, but you have to also create a piece that suits the personality of that competition.
it's true.
So I know that like CPDC, California Pole Dance Competition, and NAPA, National Area Pole Art, both of those to me always want a powerful, dynamic, fun routine. Like the dramatic, slow, emotional ones they do okay, but it's gonna like life will beat them. Like somebody just up on stage, just ripping their throat out is gonna win, So,
Interesting. Yeah, like knowing these things, because I'm sure there's competitions where that would just flop.
where it wouldn't do as well, right?
Yeah.
And you gotta maybe tailor it a little. I feel like when PSO Nationals was in Seattle, it was much more of a contemporary driven competition. They wanted obviously strong dynamic pole movement, but it was cased in more of a contemporary like dressing, It was more that was the feel of that competition. So, and sometimes you can't predict it. Sometimes you don't know going in, and you just have to be true to what you want to express, which I think is always the case. But if you know this competition is this way, take what you love and kind of meld it together with what the competition expectations are, So there's a way to do both, but you should always try to find a way to stay true to what you love and what makes you feel happy on stage,
Yeah, I mean, that's part of being, this is speaking more to the people at the higher professional levels. That's part of being a professional, is like,
Yeah.
If you do want to win that competition, be true to yourself and know, they are expecting more of like contemporary execution. Then like, that's a fun challenge. Like, how can I do this my style?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And so, I love this because I just feel like this is maybe something that people haven't thought about, but also I feel like this is another area within pole where people can start maybe finding work or like practicing their skills in this area, because I think that as the industry grows, this is going to be a need for this more. So maybe, as maybe people pay for privates with teachers, maybe this this type of like, to me, I see you more as like a creative director / coach.
I agree. I agree with that,
So,
for sure.
maybe more roles will open up like this, or maybe people should, if they feel like this is their passion, it's something they can, pursue in different markets and stuff. So
Definitely. And it goes to, we've worked with a lot of people in other areas. Like, I feel like there's more costumers now.
Yeah.
There's more, and I definitely think that will continue to grow. And also it doesn't have to be somebody that's involved with it from this very, very top. Or you could have, I've had a situation where like Jessica, I work for her too at Jagged, Jessica Anderson Gwen. And I work for her at her studio, and then she just wins titles. She's a choreographer. She studied dance in college, and she's a real trained dancer. But sometimes you just want to talk it out.
Oh yeah.
You just want a second set of eyes, so you don't have to feel like you lose yourself and you're turning over control to somebody else, because it doesn't have to be that way. I give somebody just as much as they want. Jessica and I had one meeting. I told her the stuff is cool. Hey, try that. She did it. It worked. And then she was off to the races, So it's never, it should never feel like an imposition on your creativity. It should feel like support.
Yeah, someone who's good at their job at what you do knows how to bring out the best in someone. They're not just, what's the saying, like putting lipstick on a pig? Like, You're not just like, use this nice costume, here's a good song. Like, you're really like working with someone to bring out their best qualities and like it's, suits them. You're not going to make someone who's lyrical do some like rock and roll stripper thing. That doesn't make sense.
and I'll admit I had a couple of clients come to me wanting to work with me, and then when we got in it didn't flow, and they ended up finding a fit with somebody else. Because I have a really specific style. I'm pretty esoteric. I'm like little universe this, and you gotta be, that's gotta kind of work for you, because I really philosophical about the approach to it. So you can find the exact right thing. I think it's out there for everyone. And you just, and you don't always know what you want going in. Sometimes it's figuring it out. And that's part of the joy too. The joy is the journey.
Yeah, that's the creative aspect of it, is, you wouldn't just, you don't always go out and just hire like any designer, right? If you're getting your house designed, you're not just like, oh, I like this interior designer, just based on, like you pick someone who has done things before that are relatable to you, that you would, see yourself being a part of. So, and that makes sense to me. Do you get credit or anything like that? Or is this something more like, the people you work with, their successes? Or is there anything where like you, I don't know. I guess I don't know what I'm asking, but.
I feel like I consider the pieces that I work on that win, and well, all the pieces, I consider them part of my resume too. Yeah. But if we work together and somebody wins a title, I consider that a title for me too. I mean, obviously I'm not going to have the trophy or whatever, and I'm not looking my goal is not to have like a ton of recognition or anything like that, but it just represents my work as well. So usually we have such a great relationship that they thank me without me having to ask them to thank me. I think it's good etiquette to thank somebody that helped you, and just give them a little shout out. But I think people in our community are pretty good about this. Whether it's the studio they worked at, they trained at, or a teacher that gave them a specific pass, even if they weren't training with them, down to their costumers and, whoever does shoes for them. I feel like it's a really good practice to have, because it creates allies and it only strengthens your network. My main core team, we're like really close, and we get even closer every time we work together. And I feel like they always shout me out. And that's all I really would ask for.
I feel like eventually it gets to the point where, there's more recognition in it. Like, when you're awarded, say like for, you do directing, for example.
Yeah.
So the director is credited, and then the costume designer is credited, and the casting agent is, all of that.
Exactly.
So I was just wondering if there was a place where this was kind of like acknowledged, but it sounds like not yet, but it's,
I feel like it should start going that way, because they're like you're saying there, especially as pieces get more intricate, there's a lot that goes into it, like I'll help if they don't have a costumer, I'll help with costuming, or we'll paint props. Nadia and I have made so many props together, and it's not for ownership. It's just, you know what I'm saying? Because I give my main, and I have a phrase for you. So I know that's one of the questions at the end. I'm going to save it. Okay. But I have a philosophy that kind of just sums up how I feel about the process. It's like, I love being a part of it. I love the collaboration, but at the end of the day, it's not about me, because I'm not getting on that stage.
Yeah.
I don't have that thing and that drive. I'm way too anxious and self-critical, but I'm super good at supporting other people and helping them get there. That's why I would never be an actress either. I like it behind the scenes on that side of my life too. I like to be behind the camera. I like to be a motivating force, a little bit like puppeteer, which is funny because when you're growing up and they make you take those personality tests that tell you what you should do for a living, I would always get puppeteer. And I was like,
I don't think that pays.
You can't even make money
That's a job. Come on.
I live off of that. But here I am puppeteering. Right? in both areas.
Metaphorical
Yeah,
puppeteer.
so who knows, right? Here, the universe speaks in weird ways. Here I go.
Yeah.
But so so yeah, I think that it's always great to just show the people that give to you that you appreciate their input, even though you're the one that's capitalizing the most, that's getting the most out of it, that's pushing forward with the name and going on to tour and all that stuff. And that's what we're here. We want to see you achieve those goals. That's why we do our part.
Yeah.
You know? So just like I thought how you phrased it was great, Crimson, like just like a movie. You have all the credits, you know, but the actor still is everybody cares about, right?
And that's okay. It's like just nice that, you know, it's just another position within the pole community. I don't like being on stage either, so I could completely relate to that. Like, I would not want that at all. So
nerve wracking. I applaud them, and I'm glad because I love watching.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for everybody that wants to get out on the stage for performance, for showcase, for competition, for a studio dance at their home studio. They're all valuable, and we just love to watch you guys express. So thank you all. All the performers out there, we thank you.
Exactly. And then we're grateful for you for making it really fun for us to watch. So
yeah. Oh, thank you. I love to be a part of it.
Yeah. So let's jump into the second part of the interview for the standard questions. We've talked about a lot of dancers with you because you've just worked with so many. But separate question is, who is your pole crush?
God, it's so funny when I got these questions. Some of these were like, oh my God, how do I pick just one? It's like when somebody asks me, what's your favorite movie? One movie? Like, I love movies, right? So I'm going to pick somebody that's like not on my team, even though my probably number one favorite is Nadia, because I just like, we are like a part of each other. Mm-hmm. But I really love Marlo. I mean, she's such a brilliant mover, and I've always learned a lot from her. She's one person that if she ever comes around to town, even since I was a student, Nadia actually was, I remember she was at Pole Show LA one year, and Nadia was like, you're going to love her. And she was like, she's like a mix of these two girls that we know. I was like, really? And she was like, she came on stage, and I was like, and then she had a workshop, and I went to the workshop. And so I always like just try to learn as much from her as possible. Even her just movement philosophy is super educational for you developing and continuing to develop your own movement style. And I also love the way that she incorporates these shapes into images. Like the photography that she and Ken are doing is just so mind-blowingly exquisite. And I have a friend that photographs me, and we actually all went out one time, and the two photographers were talking and stuff, and I was like, yeah, tell them everything. I want pictures like that, right? But he's my friend's dope too. But just the level of creativity in Marlo, I think, is just astronomical, and I respect her so much. And I do always mention her in classes. If I'm not talking about Nadia or Brian, I'm talking about Marlo, because I find that a lot of it. So while some of her stuff is not accessible, if you don't have the physical skill set, I think like if you're not flexible or you don't, whatever. But I feel like a lot is accessible for a wide variety of people, and it also teaches you a lot about how to capitalize on grips in different areas of your body. I think that's what people don't really realize that she's doing, is her grip is so strong everywhere, not just in a couple places, not just her hands, not just her elbow, or not just her knee grip is like she could just hang out there, like she's not going anywhere. And it's like and she uses her hips, she uses all the parts of her body to help her make these shapes and move through these amazing transitions. So I try to emphasize that kind of movement in class when I'm instructing, because while I coach and did that, what I'm like mostly doing pole is like I teach a bunch of pole classes a week. I'm so many pole classes.
Yeah, you do.
But she would probably be out not of people I don't work with in a coaching capacity. She would probably be my number one.
Oh, wow. I never heard anyone describe her movement like that. Now I'm going to be really conscious of that when I'm like watching her videos about her grip. So I encourage everyone else to do the same. It's like a way to learn.
And she was like one of the first people that I really recognized is so amazing with rotations on static pole, which I love. I was born on static pole. Like my original studio, our poles didn't even spin.
Wow.
So there was a long time where we were like, oh my God, spinning pole is easy. It's totally not easy.
No.
Like, so learn that real fast. As soon as I got on one, I was like, ah! But still a little bit afraid of spinning, but I go too fast. But if you can look at somebody and be like, oh, wow, what a dope spin pass, and you realize they're on static pole, it's a sight. And it is so many forces of nature at work.
Yeah.
It's just so awe-inspiring. So yeah, that she's great with that as well.
Gotcha. And so how would you like to see the pole community evolve over the next 5 years?
Ugh. Well, it's interesting because I'm in this LA pole bubble, so I kind of don't know how stuff is elsewhere. And it's like, when there's less studios, I don't know if it's better for all the studios. Like we have, I think, around 30 studios in the LA metropolitan area. And that's a lot. It's a lot of choices for students. It's a lot. And then you're competitive. So, I feel like pricing is really low and studios have a hard time sometimes. Certain months are slow, like holiday months, people travel, so I'd like to see some stability for the studios so that people can continue to get quality programs and have, qualified instructors and safe classes with knowledgeable and certified instructors that are giving them, because I've seen it go from zero regulation. Hey, we're just gonna play on these poles. I've been doing this so long, and seeing it kind of get some organization, and some direction to it. And I think that we can continue to go that way, but not stifle the creative side. But I just want people to be safe. So that, I'm really a stickler for certain things in my classes because I feel like form is everything, and building the strength to do the things that you want to do instead of rushing. Don't come over your first pole class time out, I want a handspring. Can we fireman spin first, though? And I feel like there's a instant gratification thing that people want that I'd like to see go away, and people revisit the slow and steady. It's starting to. I feel a little shift in the energy, where it's okay to take your time and learn something, and then practice it again the next time you go to class. It's okay. You don't have to do all new stuff every time you go to class. And I think review is important, and making sure that your body is strong enough for going on so that you can have longevity and avoid injury. So I'd like to see people slow down, and I'd like to see slow down, stay creative, and continue to support one another and come together in acceptance of everything that pole can be. Pole can be athletic. Pole can be sexy. Pole can be dramatic. It can be any of these things. None's wrong. None's right. Pole can be stripping in the strip club. Pole can be only in a classroom. Like, I've never danced in a club. I've only been in a classroom and maybe a couple times on stage. But there's no judgment, and I would like for pole to go back. I think there's been a little bit of judgy moments, and I'd like to see it go back to a free space where we don't tolerate judgment and we are open to everybody's self-expression.
Yay. Yes, that's so true. Very well said.
Yay. Because it should be all about, I mean, it's because at the end of the day, guys, it's pole dancing. We got to just love it.
I know. It's so funny when people get all worked up about it. Like, I try not to engage online, but, people really get so worked up. And I'm like, calm the hell down. It's pole dancing. If you can't love other people for their own styles when they're doing it from a place, that's genuine to them, then, like, get the hell out. Like,
we don't need you.
Yeah.
And I feel like what's so inspiring to me about it is I've come in contact with, connected with, and become close to so many people from different backgrounds, whether that's their nationality or race, their socioeconomic position, their sexuality, identity, sexual identity, whatever.
Age.
Oh, that's a huge one.
I know.
Age. People in class that are 60-something and 19 and all on the same page. I love it. And to me, it's like, I feel like it has a real potential to be a unifying factor if we don't focus on those different preferences. Like, I want to do Russian exotic style. Cool. Well, I want to do it like it's a conditioning class. Cool. And you can want, like I've said in the beginning, you can want different things on different parts of your journey, and that's okay too. I remember there was a big shoe store here that went out of business, and I thought it had a huge sale, and I thought, oh my God, it's going to be crazy in here. Like, people are going to be tearing each other limb from limb. But actually, it was the exact opposite. It was like, women were in there shopping. They were like, oh my God, those shoes are so cute. Did you see these over here? I think they're your size. Are you a 9? Oh my God. I was like, the answer to world peace is shoes. It's shoes. It's been under our nose the whole time. So it's like shoes and pole dancing. Like, what more do we need in life? Shoes and pole dancing are the keys to world peace. And if we focus on accepting each other and being there to support and give to one another, I love the variety.
Yeah.
Right? It's what makes it colorful, and color is what makes the world beautiful. I hope everything gets better in 2017. And one way that can happen is by us, continuing to show each other love and support, even no matter what happens outside of our community. I was talking to one of my studio owners, and they said that faced with what potentially could happen, our community is even more important because we are against body shaming. We're against bigotry and hate on whatever makes us different. We're unified by what's always been kind of a universal voice, which is music. And if we stick to those, like, music can be our heartbeat, and it can just keep us connected and keep us feeling positive and keep us sharing the love. And I think that we can trickle that out to as many people as we can through our art.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. How I know me personally, and I've heard other people say this too, and I've hesitated to say this. I'm like, oh, this makes me sound like an asshole, but I am so much less judgmental of other people since I've started pole. Like, I think because I'm less critical of myself now, that I'm less critical of other people. So you're right. Like, being in this community is making you a better citizen of the world.
It really is, because it's not even just acceptance. Yeah. It's also appreciation.
Yeah.
And in life, I try not to be judgmental. That's why when I worked at the adult novelty store, it kind of worked for me, because I got to be completely judgment-free. People would come in, and my first question was, what are you into? No judgment. Let me help you get that, right? Yeah. So that's how I feel in this world, too. Like, what are you into? No judgment. And when people are in class, that's why we're here. We're here to test. We're here to fail. We're here to grow, right? And I think we get all that in a pole class, and people don't get that in life. People always feel like they have to be right. They always have to win. They always have to, be better than the other person. You don't look at the other person. This is your journey. You're on a solo journey with people walking beside you on a solo journey. And so together we're on a journey, but your steps are your steps, and however slow you need to go, however fast you need to go, it's your world. And I feel like if we were confident in that and more in real life, then I feel people wouldn't have as many problems and be worried about what other people are doing. Worry about what you're doing. That's what on the pole is like, at a certain point, you got to be worried about what you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to fall off, right? So you can't be worried about what other people are doing besides your teacher who's spotting you heavily. But yeah, I completely agree with you 100%. 100%.
So we
are better citizens of the world. Let's
let's share that. Let's spread the love. So if people want to find you, well, do you have anything coming up that you want to share with the audience? And then also, how can people find you on social media and all that good stuff?
I just have, if you're in the LA area, I have a performance and competition workshop coming up in February, and you can find out more about that either on my Facebook page. I don't have like an athlete page or anything. I'm not that popular. But it's Veronica Pole, Veronica with a K, Veronika Pole. And that's my same Instagram for my Instagram too, Veronica Pole. And that's it. I mean, I'm just always around. I'm always teaching. If you come to LA, look up a studio, probably be there. But that's teaching is my favorite thing. It gives me life on a daily basis, and I think that's it. Keep your eye out on those sites, and also we have a Team Killem Instagram,
which you need to update more. Just saying.
Actually, Brian Wolf's technically over that. I throw him under the bus real quick. But he was like, we need one. I was like, I already do too, and it's really bad. So we all need to get on there and post. We should all take turns.
So, because we can find out about the Team Killem showcase that you're going to do.
Yeah, so we'll keep you guys updated on that. We'll do better. We will
Thank you.
do a better job on that. And then, but if you want to if anybody ever wants to contact me, social media is great. Should I leave my email?
I'll put your email. Well, Is it in your social media? Can they message you or?
Yeah, they can message me on social media. If they, and I don't mind you putting my email.
Okay, I'll put your email in the show notes. So if anyone's like really interested in this, so you can email.
Yeah. Or if they just have any questions and they want to, maybe there's somebody that they want to work with, and I'm definitely just down to help people achieve whatever their goal is. And I don't have to be super involved. If I can just point you on the right direction, then I'm a helper. I was born this way. So awesome. I'd be happy to help. So
that's very generous of you. So before I let you go, you've hinted that you were already prepared for this, but can you leave us with what's the empowering message you have for us?
So this is like my philosophy on how I work with people, and it can also be for yourself too. Okay. Right? Like basically get out. So the phrase is let the star shine. So that's how I feel when I'm working with someone. Let the star shine. It's not about me. It's not about what I want most of the time, unless what I'm saying is going to make the star shine, of course. But don't encumber them. Let the star shine. Basically, get out of their way, too. Give them some help, support, guidance, and then get out of the way. And the same thing goes for yourself. We all have a star inside of us. And a lot of times what keeps us from our best success is ourselves. We get in our own way. So let your star shine. Get out of your own way. And if you're working with other people, let them shine. Let the star shine.
I love it. And if you're unsure what that star is within you, maybe bring on someone like Veronica that can help you discover your star.
Yay.
Because we all got it.
Yes, very true.
Oh, Veronica, thank you so much. It's been like super, I've learned a lot. It's been super fun talking with you, but very educational. I think a lot of us learned a lot, and I'm just so excited to see what you come up with next.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure and an honor. I really love what you're doing. Keep it up. It's such a fun thing to watch, and we always do learn something and I love being an audience member too. So thank you for all of your efforts. I know it takes a lot to put this together. So we appreciate
that. That's so kind of you to say. Big kiss. Mwah.
Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Pole Parlour podcast. Want more? Visit poleparlor.com for show notes and to link to the Facebook group where you can connect with other poloholics and continue the conversation. Listen to past episodes and subscribe to new episodes on the website, YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. Lots of love, babes. Thanks for listening.